Hi there. I'm going to do an introduction to flat earth astrology, for it does create some small changes. Now, you're probably not into astrology at all, but try and bear with me for a few minutes, as there's still some goodies in here you might like, and or you might start to see some things a little differently, maybe. Astrology is something I've studied for years, and it was a tough nut to crack with my flat earth awakening. But know this, much of astrology in the media, such as horoscopes in magazines, Mystic Meg and the like, this is all nonsense to send people away from astrology. But our controllers also use astrology. If you look at when wars are started and things like this, you can see certain energies in the astrological sky. Within the flat earth movement, many people are starting to see divinity, signs, a clockwork of sorts, and a new sense of wonder with the sky luminaries. In the flat earth model, the stars are close, which I will show a bit later, and they give us an intelligent energy. And this is really the source of what astrology is. Astrology is a luminary sky clockwork, allowing for different combinations of energy to rain down to Earth. One could say this is divine energy or archetypal energy, but the labels don't really matter too much. So what I want to do is a really basic introduction to astrology and look at the subtle differences that the flat Earth creates from what people know as the standard Western astrology. This picture here shows the flat Earth and the zodiac, the 12 signs of the zodiac around it. Now the sun travels through these 12 signs. Now note these images are not to scale, they're representative. So the sun stays in each of these 12 signs of the zodiac for around 30 days each. And it takes around 365 days a year for the sun to travel through all these 12 signs. Here's another way of looking at this. The ecliptic in flat earth terms is simply the path the sun takes in the sky. And behind the sun, behind the ecliptic, is always one of the zodiac signs, one of the 12 zodiac signs. Here in this clip we see Taurus behind the sun, next to which we can see Aries, then Pisces, these 12 zodiac constellations are energy fields, archetypal patterns, or universal formative principles. Each sign has certain characteristics. A perfect human would have all 12 equally balanced within him, and all the 12 archetypal patterns in their most positive and most harmonic state, which is near impossible. We all come here heavy in some and light in others. These 12 signs are split into cardinal, mutable and fixed groupings, and also into the 4 elements, earth, water, air and fire, which could be looked at as physical, emotional, mental and physical. Here we can see a quick list of the characteristics, a summary of the characteristics of each of the 12 signs, but we won't go into that too much in this video. So the 12 zodiac signs are made up of stars. What actually are stars? We can see here they're not massive balls of burning gas. They look to be more like some sort of intelligent, high frequency, geometric energy. We can't rule out the possibility of these being sentient. And we can look at Sirius here, one of the brightest stars in the sky. You can find it sort of down and left of Orion's belt. And what is this? Some images make it look like a hexagram. Other images we can see it flickering, Some are talking about water up there, as in what Genesis said. And here's an image someone took of it, but they sort of jogged the camera and Sirius gave off all of these colours. So to conclude this section, the zodiac is the soul of nature, a cycle of vibration, allowing for each human soul to be on a unique vibration. Let's look at the planets now, also important to astrology. The planets we will call wandering stars because each have a more sort of strange motion in the sky compared to the zodiac. These are a structure of consciousness, a map of the psyche. Wandering stars symbolise basic forces or active centres within us that reflect to luminaries in the sky, manifesting in us as fundamental psychological functions, urges, needs, motivators, energy regulators, so to speak. Planets within the sign serve as stimuli in the energy of the sign. One could say the planets characterise the mode of energy exchange between the individual human and the universal storehouse. The wandering stars represent all types of self-expression on every level: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. If we are not aware of these forces in our lives, we will be at the mercy of them. Here I would say, where it says Jupiter's moons, I would say these are not moons. I would just say these are luminaries that are linked to the Jupiter luminary, for they follow it around. Here we see some astrology software, which funnily enough, they all have everything spinning around the Earth, around the humans. Now, astrologers think this is representational, but us flat earthers know this view is more real than the baller astrologer thinks. I've added the flat earth map in the middle to help visually too, and also remind yourself this is not to scale. Okay, with the outside ring, there are the 12 zodiac signs, and the inner ring hosts the wandering stars, sun and moon. If you think of the wandering stars as a specific dimension of experience, and the zodiac signs as a specific quality of experience. The wandering stars and their placements relative to the zodiac when you were born, and their movements or transits through the sky in the past, present and future. These are the major influences in astrology. At the moment we are born, every wandering star, as well as the moon and sun, occupied a particular position, which is represented in a person's natal chart. The relative positions of the wandering stars as they move through the signs form geometric angles or aspects, which are infinitely changing. These geometric aspects, the blue and red lines you see, hold energy, opposition, a challenging square, a harmonic trine, etc. Now I can guarantee you these hold energy, for I've worked with them and experimented with them, and even reverse engineered certain events and experiences and seen rich aspects evident at certain times. Some wandering stars move quicker than others, for example Mercury quicker than Pluto. Thus whole generations may be influenced by one wandering star. Though the astrological climate changes very quickly due to the steady movement of the wandering stars through the signs of the zodiac. For example, the moon goes through a zodiac sign every 2.5 days or so. Have a think about how the moon influences mood, or how we feel when the sun is shining versus a dark and rainy day, and it becomes easy to imagine that there are forces at work in the sky. Okay, so we've had a little look into astrology and into the zodiac and the planets. So before we look into the actual flat earth differences, I want to show you a quick something. I've said for over a year now that the stars are close. Here is a quick proof of this. Okay, I want to show you something here. Okay, we're in North Canada, sort of Nova Scotia, looking south. There we go, there's S for south. There's the sun. Turn the sky brightness off. Around 5 in the afternoon, and this is like May, 20th of May. I want to show you something. Here you can see Taurus behind the sun. And there's Gemini, this is red lines, the ecliptic. What we're going to do, we're going to move down the Earth a little bit. See, Taurus is still behind it, Taurus is still behind it. Get to the equator. And then to see it, now we need to turn around and face north. So now we're sort of South America, and we have to look north to see the sun. What we need to find interesting here is that Taurus is still behind the sun. Bear that in mind. But it's turned round. So if we look here, we can see the people in Nova Scotia and South America both saw Taurus behind the sun at the same time. This proves that the stars are very close to the sun in altitude. They're not much higher. Because if the stars were much higher, the constellations were much higher than the sun, people in Canada and people in South America would not both see Taurus behind the sun. I hope this makes sense, and you may have to rewind this bit and just have another little look and a little think about it. What are the tangible differences from a flat earth perspective to astrology? They're subtle and they don't change too much. If we look at this image, we see this is wrong. This is sort of globe head astrology. Even though this is wrong, this doesn't create a problem, because it's still the Earth's geometry to other planets, to wandering stars. This image, this is wrong because the sizes are wrong. This is wrong. The sun isn't that big compared to other planets. Jupiter and Saturn, why are they bigger than other wandering stars? This image here, this is just mind control. Let's put an even better image here of the sun being, this is the scale that mainstream science teaches. And what this does in astrology, it creates an error. Because if we have the sun so big and Saturn and Jupiter too big, standard astrology software creates this. They're called orbs. Every planet has an orb number. An orb number is a range of degrees a wandering star has for finding an aspect with another wandering star. I've shown the orb in a shaded grey here and made it a little bigger to accentuate the point I'm trying to present. So for example, because people think Jupiter is so big, this range or orb you see on the screen will create a trine aspect to Jupiter. This orb is too fat, too inaccurate, because in reality, Jupiter is no bigger than, say, Venus. This orb here is looking for an opposition aspect. Now, these incorrect orbs in Western astrology are most noticeable with the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, because globehead mind control has made people think that these are massive. Here you see Jupiter looking for a square aspect. So what we have here is a standard orb table that is under the bonnet of most astrology software. And Western astrologers really rarely change this, because it shows the size of the planets that we're led to believe from school. What I've done, I've changed this to make it a flat Earth orb table, where the Sun and the Moon are around the same size. Saturn and Jupiter are no bigger than, say, Venus. And I've just worked with this table to make it more flat Earth, because what we've been taught by NASA is just a big load of lies. And what this will create is slightly different aspects. maybe a difference of around 10% on each person's chart. Not much of a change, but a change nevertheless. Here's something else I want to show you. You see on this person's natal chart, we can see aspects in the middle, the ring of wandering stars, and then the ring of the zodiac. You see these numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way around to 12. Different sections. Same on this natal chart, there's numbers 1 to 12. What these are the houses. These are the life arenas. You can say the first house is to do with self-image, a means of self-expression. The fifth house to do with children, personal creativity, romance. Let's pick the ninth house to do with travel, study, higher learning, morals and ethics. Each house is also ruled by a planet. That's not too important for here. And what you'll find with the house system is sometimes, especially for people living higher up in the northern hemisphere or lower down in the southern hemisphere, a house system gets very warped. If we look at this natal chart, you see how small the first house is, then how big the fourth and fifth house is. This is the Placidus house system, which is used very much in, especially in Europe, much more than in America. This is very much used a lot, the Placidus house system. And the reason these houses are warped is that it's quite complex. But we don't need to go into it too deeply because it's all just going to go in the bin. Because the Placidus house system is based on the Earth spinning and being a sphere. So it's just got to go in the bin. It's just going to go in the bin and that's it. And after looking at a lot of these house systems, I ended up throwing most of them in the bin. And the one I ended up with that still works and is still valid is what's known as the equal house system. So when you were born, at some place on Earth, at the moment you were born, there was a sunrise somewhere. Wherever that was becomes your first house. And the whole Earth is split equally into 12 life arenas, 12 houses. There is absolutely no reason for this to be done any other way, because we don't live on a globe. So in flat Earth astrology, it will always use the equal house system, and the ascendant will be at the area where there was the sunrise at the time of your birth. If flat Earth astrology is something you feel that interests you, and you want to know more about your patterns, challenges, talents, gifts, evolutional call, or to know about your astrological transits coming your way soon, then get in touch via the links below.